in our university community. I'd also like to take a few moments tonight to recognize a few very, very special individuals. And I have had the privilege of getting to know each one of them in different ways. First, for Dr. Hugh Sherman, he's been with Ohio University since 1995, and I can't thank him enough for what he's done for Ohio University and for the College of Business. He's not only been the dean, but he's been an important advisor to me, a person I can call on for advice and counsel. And he's just a wonderful university leader and truly has a passion for our university. During his 13 years as dean, the college has grown, it's created new programs, and it's achieved national prominence in a number of areas. And Dean Sherman, you've helped the university in countless ways, and I've appreciated, again, your knowledge and insights. And our students have benefited greatly from your leadership and vision. So I wish you so much the highest. I hold you in the highest regard, and I wish you the very, very best as you move on to the next stage of your life. So thank you very much for a grateful university. For Dr. Heather Lawrence Benedict, I want to thank Dr. Lawrence Benedict for 15 years with the College of Business. The college has benefited tremendously from her work, and the university has too. It's amazing to consider that when she was serving as director of the Professional Masters in Sports Administration program, the program earned the #1 worldwide ranking by Sports Business International in 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016. And as we know, that legacy continues. We're just so proud of our sports administration program. It's certainly an important bragging point for me and Dr. Heather Lawrence Benedict. Thank you again for all that you've done. You've also assisted the university in countless ways, including serving as faculty athletic rep, and I appreciate your service in that way as well. And finally, I want to take a few moments to talk about Charles Doc Higgins, who we heard from earlier. His 50-year career at Ohio University is truly incredible. He's more than just a teacher or a professor. He's a true legend in my mind, and I'm sure the mind of many. He's accomplished so much with the College of Business and the Sports Administration program. I've enjoyed, again, seeking his counsel and just seeing him on campus. But I also have enjoyed participating in his classes as well. So when you think of all the students who've been in his classes and all the lives that he's touched over the years, it is truly amazing. Dr. Higgins, your students are working all over the world, as you know, and they will continue to add to your legacy through their own successes and accomplishments. Again, I've enjoyed speaking in your classes each year, and I hope to be invited to speak at other events that you may be involved with. I will certainly miss seeing you on campus, but I'm so happy for you and so thankful that I had the opportunity to work with you and get to know you. Finally, I'd like to thank the Ohio Sports Administration Graduate Program for organizing tonight's event and celebrating the successes of our students and alumni and faculty as well. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of the evening. And now I'd like to turn the microphone and screen back over to Justin. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you tonight, and go Bobcats. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nellis. We appreciate all of your support of Sports Ed and hope to have you with us for Symposium in person in 2022. Next, to continue our acknowledgement of Dr. Hugh Sherman for all of his support to Ohio Sports Administration, we actually have a video that we would like to share that was sent in from Dr. Andy Kreutzer.
Hugh, it's Andy. I'm just here hoping to add my congratulations and my welcome during the symposium festivities. It was great seeing you last week in Athens. I had a great time talking to you. And for this note, I want to, welcome you to the ranks of the OU retired. And as I mentioned before, retirement is absolutely the most undersold phase of life, and I'm glad you're joining me in this. Although I will say that it has its challenges. I know after 3 months of retirement, I was worried I was going to have to hire an assistant until the accountant that I've been linked to, I love the term linked now, for the last 55 plus years told me a schedule was going to change that, and it has, particularly when I stick to it. I just want to tell you that the parameters of a retirement schedule are nothing goes on before 9 a.m. and the only thing you can put on after 9 p.m. has to be entertainment, and that the facts that go in between are written down and consequently keep you on task, although the tasks are far fewer. The one thing I think that is in some ways unique about retiring from Ohio University is that while we relinquish responsibility, we retain relationships. So the people don't go away, just the work. And it's absolutely spectacular, but staying in touch with the people that you've made friends with over these years and recognizing that the conversations aren't going to start with the most dreaded phrase in office history, and that is someone walking into your office saying, I have a great idea. That now you're in the privilege of saying, well, you're not in my office. You take it with you when you go. I hope it works. But in all that, welcome to retirement. And now I want to say thank you for all that you've done for the sports administration program. I think many people don't realize that in our originating phases 20 years ago, my gosh, when we first started conversations with the College of Business about adding the MBA as part of a dual degree program based on our recognized needs and is voiced by our alumni that the complexity of the sports industry was actually a business. And the fact that at that time you were the director of the MBA program. And if it weren't for you, this would not have happened. Not only were you involved, you led this effort to combine these two degrees and went through much of the work that was important to establishing that, including work we would do with our incoming students, particularly those that would need extra courses in preparation for admission to the MBA program, which happened and has, in the subsequent 20 years, turned Ohio University Sports Administration graduate programs into leaders, recognized as the best in the world on any number of occasions. And I want to thank you for the basis that put us here. The dual degree program rests on your shoulders, and I'm so grateful that you were not only there, but so actively involved and then came back as the dean to continue our relationship within the College of Business. So welcome to retirement. Thank you for all you've done. And I look forward to talking to you, and not only talking to you, but seeing you and Nikki in person. So I hope you enjoy this time. Bye.
Thank you, Doc Kay, and thank you, Dr. Sherman. We appreciate both of you, miss you very much, and wishing the two of you all the best. I'd now like to welcome up to the stage the Executive Director of the AECOM Center for Sports Administration and our MSA Program Director, Mr. Matt Cacciato.
Thank you, Justin. I'd like to begin this evening with just some thanks to those that really were probably most responsible for us being able to do this, and that's the Baker Hall staff, Dusty Kilgore and Amber Lauk and Deanna, who's with us here tonight, really just kind of made this happen for us and worked with us to be able to have this camaraderie. Dusty actually is a graduate of the program, so it makes it even more special. I asked him to join us here tonight, but he's busy getting Peden ready for med school graduation tomorrow. There's a chance he'll stop by, but again, we're here because of their efforts and their coordination. So thank you very much for that. Deanna, you missed that, but thanks a million for everything you've done here tonight. Let's give them a round of applause. I also want to say a big thank you to AECOM. For many of you that have attended Symposium over the years. We've always been greatly supported by them, certainly as the naming partner of the Center for Administration. But we know what they do when it's time for us to get together and socialize and network and share stories and best practices. I think, right at the top of that is John Nemeth, who, in addition, to his role, obviously, at AECOM as a Vice President and Director for Sports Americas, he also officially joined our College of Business as an Executive Fellow this past fall. And he's always been active in the classroom, as has all of the AECOM, staff. But, John has actually taken it to the next level and really looking forward to this. He wants to spend more time with us going forward, as do all the AECOM professionals. So, again, I just wanted to pay a special, thank you to them. There's a number of folks that are on that team, and they have big plans for the future for us. Obviously, we renewed the naming rights agreement with them in the fall and, had big plans, kind of waiting for the pandemic to clear up to kind of really activate it and launch it. But, those plans are going to take place in the fall. They think a lot about our partnership. It's been very good for their business. And I think it's been, equally, if not better, for them personally. They want to get out and help us maybe do some more stewardship with our alumni around the country. So the idea of visiting people, meeting our alumni where there are, is an idea they brought us. And the fact that we might be able to get to certain states, establish some state representatives or some ambassadors, and do some more, Bobcat gatherings, MSA gatherings, in cities such as Atlanta, or Florida or Texas, wherever it may be. So again, they're always thinking about us and how to help us better serve our alumni and our students, and we look forward to that ramping back up in the fall. What you don't see, and I dare not turn the camera, maybe towards the end of the program, I'll show you how we're gathered here. And we also have all the cutouts from the combo that were produced to support, the combo events, volleyball and men's and women's basketball. So we had about 100 cutouts that were there over the course of the season. So those are actually around the border of our room here. And AECOM was certainly, part of that cutout family, if you will. But they're with us in spirit all the time. Their support is unparalleled. Their business is going very well. John's working busily on the new arena for the Clippers. They did a lot during COVID. Return with confidence, return to play. And again, we're looking forward to having them back here on campus in person in the fall. So Mark Payne, Steve Terrell, Greg Brown, Brandon Leipst, thank you for all you do. And we look forward to, again, welcoming you back to Athens very soon. Another thanks that I'd like to go ahead and acknowledge is Jim Kaler, who really, first and foremost, helped me transition into the center role that he really defined, and made it, something that I actually, wanted to do. The reality is, the idea of trying to do this without Jim was really daunting, but there was another role that we wanted him to step into, and he's done that incredibly well. The idea of launching the sports gambling education platform was something that we wanted to be out in front. We wanted to capture first mover status, in building that program. We actually launched it early, thinking that there might be greater demand as a result of the pandemic starting to kind of take hold, and it's performed extremely well. It's done everything we've intended and more. It's provided us funding to fund for our graduate assistants. It's allowed us, again, to kind of have that leadership position in really addressing, some of the more complexities that surround sports gambling. As we tell people, you don't come to the certificate course to figure out how to be a better gambler. You really come to the course to figure out how to better manage gambling for your business and what it really means from a business perspective, from a compliance perspective, from an integrity perspective. And Jim has worked tirelessly on that, producing great webinars, bringing people from all sectors of the sports ecosystem into the sports gambling conversation. And again, launching sports gambling as the first offering, but also building the platform that will allow us to be more flexible to add additional content. We're going to put another course into the offering, which is specifically focused on fantasy sports. We're talking about producing a course with AECOM on facilities. And we've had other inquiries, about student mental health and name, image, and likeness. So now that we have this platform built, we think we can better serve alumni, stakeholders around the sports, business ecosystem, and certainly our students. So, Jim, just a thank you to you as well as AECOM for doing what you've done. I also want to thank S&P Game Day. I don't have a slide in here for them, but it's no surprise that the two trips that our students got to take this year, our experiential opportunities to the Super Bowl and the Kentucky Derby, were for S&P Game Day. If we could have gotten the green light to go to Carolina, the bus was ready and waiting for us to do that. They've been just a tremendous partner, Christine Paul and her team, and really also Christina Wright in managing that relationship for us. So cannot thank you enough for all of your support, past, present, and I know you'll be there in the future. So thank you, S&P Game Day. And also Mike Levine. We have tumblers, and to Mike's credit, he has supplied the tumblers for Symposium for many years. His company, Marketing Works. And, we don't have them on the tables now, but they're going to be forthcoming. He's got a design to kind of acknowledge Emilio Collins, our distinguished alum from last year, and then Jackie Rowe, this year's distinguished alum. So we're going to have those available. They're part of the VIP registration package, which is really just an initiative the students put in place with philanthropic and charitable intentions to drive some revenue into our diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarship. But again, we'll have these tumblers as Mike has in years past, based on his donation. So just want to say thanks to S&P Game Day and Mike Levine. And last but not least, the Symposium Committee to put this together. This is very much a student-led effort. It's one of the things I learned from Doc and certainly hearing Doc and Pat O'Connor, in our first podcast this year, talk about, the importance of it being student-led, really helps me, kind of focus, and it's very sage advice in terms of how to manage the program day to day. And again, they've just done another fabulous job, kind of took the lead from last year's Symposium Committee and what they did, putting together the first annual virtual. This is the second annual virtual, and we hope it's the very last, obviously. So a round of applause for Justin and Kiana as the committee members, but their entire team, because they really worked hard on this. So thank you very much. I would like to turn it over now to our department chair, Jim Strode, to talk a little bit about our faculty. And again, really looking forward to the content we have tonight and for everybody's great efforts, and to our audience and alumni that are watching. Dr. Strode.
Thank you, Matt. And, I would be remiss too if I didn't, thank you, Matt, for all of the work that you've done this past year. We're thinking about you. We're praying for you. You're a guy. So one big round of applause again, Matt Cacciato. So this is my third symposium, and the first one was live, the second one was virtual. So now we're in this sort of mixed hybrid. And I remember my first symposium, of course, it was a lot more people in the room, and there were a lot of folks all the way in the back of the room that had this sort of like conversation going on the entire time. And it's very eerie and quiet in here today. So hopefully we get the energy up a little bit in here. I believe the bar is still open. So please, at any point, help yourself there. But again, super proud Symposium Committee. Congratulations, MSA class. Congratulations, MBA class. Congratulations, PMSA class. It's so exciting to be able to celebrate you here live and virtually tonight. As we are celebrating so many things, we celebrated Dean Sherman. We also want to welcome our new fantastic Dean, Dean Jackie Ulmer-Reese. She is going to be a wonderful Dean, leading the College of Business, and in all of my interactions with her, she couldn't be more proud and excited to be a part of the Sports Ed family. So really pumped to welcome Jackie. And obviously, it's a tremendous honor, Doc Higgins, Shirley, to see you both and to celebrate your 50 years of teaching. And it really hit me on April 26th, and we celebrated you and had all of the distinguished alumni and had that wonderful video that you both put together for the symposium last evening of the impact that you've had on students. And I couldn't be more proud of the faculty that we have right now here in sports ed and the impact that they're continuing to have, led by fantastic people like Doc Higgins and Doc Kreutzer and the people before us. So, I actually, just as a reason I didn't want to forget anybody, I do want to acknowledge every single one of our faculty members. So I'm going to read, believe me, I know everybody's name. I'm just reading so I don't forget anybody. And you may, as MSA, PMSA, or at home, may not have had every single one of these faculty members in class, but I guarantee you that many of you have had interactions with them outside of class. We may have connected you to an Aaron Wright because you're interested in high school athletics. Many of you had Brandon Wright in class. Certainly we've acknowledged Christina tonight. Many of our undergraduate Bobcats have been impacted by Annie Valent and Anthony Reynolds and Dave Ridpath and Kelly Walton, our fantastic PMSA director. Jim Kaler, we have already acknowledged in his service here to the program. Matt Cacciato, Dave Ridpath, I said Dave before, Melissa Davies, Liz Wanless, and of course, I still consider Heather Lawrence Benedict a part of the OU family. But again, one big round of applause for our outstanding faculty members. I know it's been an adjustment for those students that have been face-to-face to adjust to online learning and this sort of new normal. The majority of our faculty members are sage on the stage, live faculty members, right? Not necessarily used to technology. And I can tell you unequivocally right now that we are Microsoft Teams ready. We are experts at any sort of Kahoot or Blackboard platform. So again, thank you to the faculty for doing an exceptional job during these tough circumstances. Again, congratulations and very excited to be here. And now off to Kelly Walton.
Good evening, everyone. It's always great to go kind of near the end, right? I hope you're all still paying attention and still listening, but mine will be somewhat quick. I just want to say a really special congratulations and thank you to our PMSA groups. Our PMSA groups had a very unusual experience in the PMSA program, not necessarily how they thought it was going to be. We were impacted as well as our on-campus group, but the academic side wasn't impacted a ton, but the residencies were certainly impacted. So I just want to say congratulations on graduation to the class of 21. Thank you for all of your support over this last year. Thank you to the class of 2022. You guys are right in the middle of it, right in the thick of things, and I cannot wait to see you on campus in September. And a huge thanks to Chris Adams, who has been our heart and soul of recruiting for the last few years with PMSA and has done an amazing job of putting together these fantastic groups of PMSA cohorts. And we're already sitting great for the class of 23 that's going to start in August. I cannot wait to see all of you, all three of those cohorts in person in Symposium 2022. It's going to be awesome. And last but not least, I have to say a huge thank you to Dr. Heather Lawrence Benedict. I still have not accepted that she's really gone and not here all the time and full-time faculty anymore, but she has done, she is the one who started the PMSA program and has set it on this amazing path. And we just graduated our 10th cohort this year. Congratulations to all of them. Congratulations and thank you to Heather for all the amazing things that she has done to set PMSA on the awesome course that it is. And congratulations to all of you again. Can't wait to see you all in person because you're all gonna come 2022. Thanks.
All right, everyone, I think that's my time now. So I just wanted to thank everyone for coming out again tonight. And I know the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee was excited to be offered this time slot in the Black Affinity Group as well to play a part in kind of developing some content for tonight. But without further ado, I'm just going to bring it to Lindsay LeBennett, who we're excited to have speak with you today. Lindsay is the Senior Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion at Wasserman, where she's been for the past 10 years or so. So I won't take up too much of your time. I'll pass it over to Lindsay to lead us in some discussion today.
Thank you, Keegan, and hello, everyone. Appreciate being here. Symposium was one of the funnest experiences I had as a part of the PMSA program. So I'm just grateful to be part of this program. As Keegan said, my name is Lindsay LeBennett. I'm at Wasserman. I've been at Wasserman for 10 years, but I've been in the sports industry for 15 years. I started off my career at NASCAR. And then from there, I went to Octagon and then on to Wasserman. And for most of the time, I've been on the brand side of the business. For the last 8 or 9 years at Wasserman, I've really focused in the NFL space, managing sponsorships and league deals and team deals and player deals, all within the NFL, which was a phenomenal experience. And then 2020 happened. And at 2020, I think I was a little bit at a crossroads about the kind of work I wanted to do and the impact I wanted to make. So then I transitioned on to doing more focused work around equity and inclusion. And part of my role, or I should say I'm dual purposed at Wasserman, and that 50% of my time I focus on our brands and properties. So like guiding some of our clients on how to handle some of these cultural moments. But then I also, 50% of my time I spend on our athlete clients. So helping them navigate some of these cultural conversations and making sure that they have the language and the resources and the education and support to be vocal on matters that they're passionate about. Because as you all know, working in sports, like athletes, leagues, they're so influential and not even just to society, but culture overall. So, I'm very blessed and thankful to be in a role that I can help guide these athletes and these brands and entities that have so much influence over the world and can make it a better place. So during my I think I have about 20 minutes, I do want to make the case that diversity, equity, inclusion work is for everyone. And it is something that we all can play a part in, especially in our industry, because we represent, whether you're on the college athletic side or the brand side or the agent side, we touch culture all the time. We athletes are usually the ones to bring about larger conversations around inequities. If you look at what happened in 2020 with the WNBA players, with the NBA players, the entire national conversation that Colin Kaepernick started. So we are in an interesting position to really drive change and make the world a better place, not to be all, cheesy. But we do have that power, and I want to be part of that solution. I want to be part of a movement that gets us towards having real and honest conversations about some of the inequities that marginalized groups are facing, and seeing what change we can make within sports. So I do want to share, I do have a couple slides. I'm not going to, because I know this isn't class, but I think slides sometimes are helpful for making the case. And then after that, I would love if there are any questions that anyone has, I'm totally here to answer. But at Wasserman, everything we do is founded in data and insights. And I'm sure in your classes, the courses that you're taking, when it comes to strategy, if you're in marketing, you have to be you have to have a foundation of insights and data to back up what you're doing. So for us at Wasserman, that is our blueprint to everything. And that's no different with diversity, equity, and inclusion work. So we try to prove out to our clients, whether they're brands or athletes, that there's a reason why we need to be active in this space. So these are just a couple stats here that kind of justify that the future is going to be more diverse. The future is going to be more accepting of difference. So whether you're working for a brand or a team or a league or a property or any entity, it's just smart for you to be aware that this is the direction the world is going in. So if we're not on board, then we're missing the boat, if you will. So I won't go through each of these. I'll just highlight a couple that I think are extremely strong. And one of those is the 69% of millennials are more likely to choose a brand over another if the brand demonstrates inclusion and diversity in its offering. And I think we saw that very clearly last year. Every single league, sports team, had a statement. They wanted the consumers and their audience and their fans to know where they stand on these issues, because they know that's important. And when it comes to equity issues and inclusion issues, there is no straddling the fence anymore. And brands aren't able to sit in their comfort of silence the way they probably were before 2020, because audiences and fans want to know where you stand. And then the next one I'll bring up here, which I think is also important, is 47% of millennials are more likely to support a brand after seeing an equality themed ad. And I think this is indicative of fans and consumers. They want to see themselves represented, right? So if you are a baseball fan, if you're a hockey fan, you want to feel like you're part of that family. So you need to be represented. You need to be seen and heard and appreciated for exactly who you are. And 2020, I think, gave all of us an interesting time to be a little bit more reflective of how inclusive have we been? How well are we making sure that we're representing all different people with different backgrounds, perspectives? And I really look at, as an example, of the NFL, a space that I worked in alongside my beloved Kelly Johnson, who's on the call. I love you, I miss you. But they made, they kind of had a little bit of a switch mode, right? Like after Colin Kaepernick, they had a very strong position. They weren't speaking out. They were trying to play it safe. And then they realized that the athletes and some of their sponsors were saying, we can't play it safe anymore. Like, we have to have a voice on this, and we have to be intentional about making sure that we're being meaningful in our work, right? Because when you're doing diversity, equity, inclusion work, you just can't BS your way through it. It is something that has to come from a very authentic place. So I wanted to kind of set that foundation before going into like this next slide as to why it's super important for us to do this work, because the data and the numbers, and at the end of the day, this is where consumers are going. But some other thoughts here as to why DEI should be a must in the work that we all do, regardless of the space that we're in, are these 3 key points. One, movements within culture can solidify brand identity. Nike is one of my favorite brands, obviously. And one of the reasons I love, and they're not absolved from problematic things. I'm no brand or entity is perfection, but I will say Nike's done a phenomenal job as a iconic brand in sports of defending who they are as a brand by the decisions that they've made when it comes to movements, right? So, you had everything that happened last year with the Black Lives Matter, with Colin Kaepernick, and they were one of the first brands to come out and vocally support Colin when the rest of the world wasn't touching him or the situation, because it was very polarizing. And I think Nike did a wonderful job of doubling down on, we believe in certain principles, and we're not going to sway on that just because it may be something that's controversial or people may not agree with. So just an example of how a brand within sports can use a movement or use a moment in culture to solidify their brand identity. This next example, which I love because I am such a LeBron fan, is that consumer connections through culture resonate the strongest. So if you're working for a brand or a team or a league, and you're trying to figure out how are we going to connect with these diverse audiences, using culture that resonates within that group is going to work best, right? And I think this example is perfect with the Undefeated and the collaboration that they did with LeBron and Maverick and HBO. They demonstrated that we are going to introduce people to the culture of a barbershop in the Black community and all the wisdom that comes out of that. So for people in the Black community viewing that, feeling like I feel very seen in this experience because this is part of my life, I think the Undefeated did a really good job of representing the culture well and connecting with people in that culture in a way that they would understand. And then this last piece is around culture influencing consumer purchase behavior. I use this example of Ben & Jerry's because they're one of my favorite brands when it comes to solidifying where they stand and how that can impact people's consumption of their product. And Ben & Jerry's has been very unapologetic on so many different issues, whether it is LGBTQ rights, whether it's women's rights, whether it's climate change. And they've been strong and consistent. They haven't been reactionary. And there was a stat in 2020, I think at the end of 2020, Ben & Jerry's, their revenue was one of the strongest years to date. And the owners attributed that to the fact that they were very clear with the Black and brown community of who they were and what they stood for, and that they stood behind them in their fight for justice. And people respond to that. Consumers are making different decisions now. Sports fans are making different decisions now. And a lot of that is based on who they are and the organizations that they support and where they stand on some of these issues. So then last, I just wanted to leave this last slide before we take questions. And I love this. I can't claim it as my own. I wish I could, but it's from the Harvard Business Review. There was an article on social justice and can brands and properties, can they play a role in this authentically? And I love the way they laid this out, because I think it makes the case for everyone can do this work. And maybe you fall into more of an ally position, which is, it's not quite anti-racist, but it's still supportive. And then there's certain actions that come along with being an ally to those who are fighting for justice or whatever their inequity issue is, if you will. So from an ally position, and this can be taken as an individual and as a corporation or a group, whatever entity is, but allies are, they're going to acknowledge the moment, right? They're going to recognize that there's a global conversation and we need to be a part of it because companies are made up of people, and those people are made up of their own issues and preferences and things that they're passionate about. So companies are leaning into like, we're going to be an ally to this situation. So we're going to make sure to acknowledge that it's happening. It may not be to the point of an activist, if you will, where they're going to kind of actively work towards the solution. So instead of acknowledging, they're probably going to advocate more, whether it's spending money, whether it's creating programs. It's just going to be a different level of positioning. And I think there's no wrong answer to doing the work. You just have to do something. And because so much of this is not, if it's LGBTQ issue, if it's a Black issue, if it's the Asian issue, it's not just an issue for that community, it's an issue for us all. And we have to approach it that way. And sorry, these blinds are really bothering me. I should have closed them, I'm sorry. But this is all of our work to do. And I encourage everyone to step boldly into this work and educate yourself. Don't be scared of the hard conversations, because that's where change comes. So I'll stop sharing my screen now. Oh, I did so good on time because I have 6 minutes. Does anyone have any questions or anything?
Lindsay, I have a question. You talk about brands, make sure they have like a response, and then they can't sit quiet. How would you advise people who like aren't just responding just because they know there's the pressure to, right? That they actually are responding and having authentic responses and messaging to the situation of whatever it is?
Yeah. Thank you, Emmanuel. That was a good question. Well, I think the first thing is you want to be super genuine in your approach. And part of that is making sure that you're not reactionary, but that you have a consistent relationship with either the Black community or the LGBTQ community, whatever the marginalized group is, I should say, that's being, I don't want to use quite an aggressive word like oppressed, but whatever the situation is that you feel like you want to speak up on and support, you have to have a consistent relationship, and it can't be your statement or your work. It has to be of the benefit of forward progress. It can't be for personal benefit. It can't be, there's this word that's being tossed around a lot, like performative, which I'm kind of tired of that word, but it makes sense because there are a lot of these reactionary statements that are performative. There are a lot of people who feel the need that they just need to say something so people know where they stand, but they don't need to follow that up with action. So I implore people, if they want to be allies, if they want to do this work and they're not sure how to get started, the first place is to educate yourself. We are blessed to grow up in the age of technology where we have the internet in our pockets. So it's really no excuse for us to not find the means to educate ourselves on some of these issues. But then once you're educated, then you have to figure out what action is most appropriate for you. Because not everyone's going to be on the front lines protesting. Not everyone has the financial means to make donations, but there is work that can be done as long as you're doing it with the intention of forward progress versus the intention of credit. I think it'll resonate with that community. Wayne asked, how would you rate the response of sports brands in the DE&I space? Do you mean the response to George Floyd and Black Lives Matter, or just in general? How would you rate the response of sports brands? Sorry, I just wanted him to clarify because I want to make sure I answer it.
Hey, just in general.
Oh, and okay.
Yeah, just in general.
Oh, just in general. Okay, sorry. Hi, Wayne.
In general.
In general,
Hey.
we have a slow start. I'm going to keep it 100 because that's the way I operate. Sports brands, there are some who have always been at the front of these issues and have been talking about it, whether it is, women's soccer team and supporting their, desire for equal pay, or they deserve equal pay. So there are certain brands who have always had a voice in this space, and they've done it confidently because, again, they recognize not just from a business position, but from a moral position that it's the right thing to do. But I would say there are other brands that have been playing it safe. There are other brands that, because these issues around inclusion can be very nuanced and hard, it's easier to stay away from them. And you see that not just with sports brands, but you see that with people, that they don't want to discuss it because it's tough. Having to discuss race and gender and sexuality and the systems that are in place that make it hard for people of color or marginalized individuals to thrive. So some of those brands I would definitely give, a 5 for good effort, but their next step has to be, what are the policy changes? How are they recruiting differently? And how are they measuring that success? Because again, I look at the NFL as an example, and I love the NFL. But if I was a consultant for them last year, I would have recommended against the end racism in the end zone and the Black Lives Matter on the helmets. I think that's good from an awareness position. But at that point in the movement, there was no need for an awareness play. There was a need for action. And we needed change, and we needed policies to look different. And we needed to kind of take that next step. So I would say overall, the sports industry still has so much work to do. I mean, honestly, if you look around you, if you look at leadership, we are still operating in a cisgendered white male environment. And until that starts to look more like the swath of athletes that play and the programs and the audiences and the fans, I'm always going to, look at it like there's a lot more progress that needs to be made. I have 1 more minute if anyone else has a question.
Hi, Lindsay, can you hear us? I'm one of the live audience members here.
Hi, live audience member. How are you?
Hello. I guess my name's Sean. So hi, I'm Sean Kane.
Hi, Sean. Hi, Sean.
I'm an MSA current student in the class of 2021, but a lot of what you talked about was kind of the external facing for the brands. I was just curious if you could touch on, because you talked about being an ally. As we get into the industry and we begin leadership roles, how can we be an ally for those within our businesses and within our companies to help them with what they're going through?
Yes, I love that question. So thank you for asking it. I think the first thing an ally can do is, when you're walking into spaces, look around you. If you see that people aren't represented, we need you to be that voice. If we are not in the room, we need people to speak on our behalf and say, if we're going to be working on a marketing campaign and we're trying to attract certain fans, we should be considered, especially if we're looking at millennials and Gen Z, which is the majority of what companies are eager to secure. That generation, millennials and Gen Z, they're going to be more Black, more brown, more accepting. They're going to be more progressive. And that's data. Going back to what I said, you always got to follow the numbers. And so one thing that you can do is speak up. And sometimes it can be uncomfortable, but when you lean into that discomfort, that's when change and growth comes. And I think it also sets a precedent that if audience member Sean is in a meeting and we're talking about how do we attract women and there's no women in the meeting, Sean's going to call that out and say, wait a minute, we're missing a part of this conversation. How can we develop the best product for our company if we don't have a woman's voice present? So speak up when you see a lack of representation. I think that's the first move. I also, I want to reinstate the importance of education, because I think when people are, you cannot be empathetic if you don't have understanding of what's going on. And that understanding has to be rooted in education. So it's for instance, what was happening with the Asian community lately in the news, I should say, with the violence that they've been facing. Like, we have to get educated on what the problem is in order for us to truly be empathetic towards them. And that means leaning into uncomfortable conversations with one another, starting those conversations, being willing to mess up. Again, as I said, I am very honest, and I feel like it's the best policy. but I feel like I know it's hard for a lot of white people to have conversations around race, but we have to have them. And if you do that with the intention of, I want to learn, I want to understand, I want to develop empathy, I'm sure you will receive the same energy of, let's really talk, let's find some common ground, and let's work together on this scenario, on the solution, because Black people can't fix these problems for ourselves with ourselves, right? This has to be like a all tides rise, all boats thing. So there has to be a collective effort, which means we are going to have to lean into some of those uncomfortable conversations. But the more we're educated, the better we'll feel about those. Hopefully that answered your question, audience member Sean.
He nodded, so I believe that it did.
Great.
Any final questions for Lindsay? Seeing none. So with that, would you all join me in a round of applause?
Thank you. And thank you, Keegan, for all of this and getting me locked in. I appreciate you.
No worries. Thank you for coming out and for speaking.
No problem.
I just want to echo what Kagan said. Lindsay, thank you so much for leading us all in a very important discussion around diversity, equity, and inclusion. Next, I'd like to introduce our next keynote speakers. These are two Bobcats at Forefront that will be leading us through an innovation session. So it is my great honor to introduce you all to Brian Gaynor, VP of Innovation, and Katie Foglia, Director of Innovation.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. And we also have Dan Magala live from Denver as well. So I think we just wanted to echo everyone and kind of kick it off with a toast. So before we jump in, we put a few slides, but cheers to everyone. Cheers to Doc Higgins, President Nellis, Doc Kay, Dean Sherman, Matt Cacciato, all the professors, Lindsay raising the bar. You never want to go after Lindsay, all the current students, grads, and then everybody else. So cheers.
Great to see everybody be raising a glass. Golden, Packy, great friends, virtual Court Street right now. Kelly, look at that, amazing.
All right, well, we're really excited and thanks again. Hopefully everyone can see the screen. I think we're with Lindsay on, we don't want to do death by PowerPoint. It's not a class. When Justin asked us to do this innovation session and sort of using the lens of like, what have we learned in 2020, 2021? I think, Dan, Brian, myself, we started thinking about how we could position this session. And I think we sort of came back to what we all know. And if we're being honest with ourselves, we know that all roads lead back to Athens. And so I think just echoing that kind of great truth of being thankful. And I think through the highs and the lows of the last year, think about all the people that you would have called or reached out to. And I think we all know that, Bobcats are at the top of the list. And also really leading the way. And so we're really excited to kind of center this around, being grateful and also sharing some inspirations, trends and other notables from the last year with really that Bobcat lens. So for those of you who don't know us, just quick intros, Katie Foglia, work at Forefront on the innovation team, was the class of 2017, and just a few of my favorite photos of memories during my time in Athens with my great classmates.
And I'm Brian Gaynor, class of 2007, a proud classmate of Dan Magala's. We're coming up, this is 15 years since Dan and I were on campus in Athens, which is pretty amazing. So just to see Doc Higgins on the call, we were there with Doc Kay, we were there for Jim Kaler's first year. It's amazing to see how much the program's grown and progressed. And Lindsay, that was amazing to see kind of just what you just presented. But just so thankful and grateful to be here. Just having so many great memories of Athens and the class of 07.
So really quickly, going to brush over this, but for anyone that doesn't know us, Forefront sports marketing consulting agency, focus on analytics, digital media, innovation, partnership sales, and technologies. But really what we want to point out in all of that is just some of the amazing partners that we get to work with. And you'll see a lot of these logos, there's great Bobcats that work there. And so really lucky to kind of work with, everyone from the Milwaukee Admirals to the New York Mets to professional bull riders in Liverpool. So love working with a great mix of clients. And by the way, this is live from the house. So Packy and Anna can appreciate my dachshund crying in the background. So sorry about that. But ultimately, look, we really pride ourselves. We like to say we make cool shit happen. And so when we think about innovation and all the things that we've done, over the few years, and I think if we're all being realistic with ourselves, there's a lot of amazing headlines that have even come out of 2020 and 2021 as a result of COVID.
And so going back to December of 2019, Katie and I actually found ourselves down under in Australia. We were there planning the ICC Women's World Cup featuring Katy Perry. We were wearing bucket heads at cricket matches. We were learning the game of netball, which if anyone's ever tried, it's really hard to shoot a basketball on a net with no backboard. But we were planning some incredible things with leagues, just looking forward to this incredible year of 2020 that we had ahead. And little did we know, March 11th, 2020, I was driving back from the Big Ten marketing meetings in Indianapolis. Katie was flying back from the San Jose Earthquakes Partner Summit with Courtney, and the world just came to a halt. I'll never forget listening to the radio with what was happening with the NBA and with America basically shutting down that night, and just not knowing kind of what was around the corner for the next 14 months. But we've learned a lot over the last 14 months, the highs, the lows. As Katie mentioned, there's been a lot of incredible things that have actually come out of COVID, and I think it's only going to make us stronger. And I think one of the greatest learnings, and Katie and I are so fortunate to work with Dan every single day because he really is the DNA of our company in so many ways, and really preached this from the beginning, is that perspective and attitude is everything, especially in incredibly trying times. Every time you show up to a Zoom call, the way you present yourself, the way you present yourself with problems and attitudes and your team, it really is everything. And so we've really tried to take that Doc Higgins gratefulness and a matter of looking at things with a positive lens. And I think it's really been a shining light for us through this time. And maybe Dan or Katie, anything else to add on this?
Yeah, I would say, especially even for the students, when we were coming out of OU, I remember, some of the lessons that we had of like, be the most prepared person in the room. And once you earn the right to be in the room, how do you add value? And I really think during COVID and Brian, Katie, all of our team at Forefront in our different offices, we've really tried, especially during COVID, we've had some really difficult conversations with clients, just the impact on our industry. I think we've added another layer of how do you be the most positive person on the Zoom, and even adopting a growth mindset. How can you be part of the comeback story of sport? And I think attitude is really an incredible differentiator right now, to be able to do it. So I think channeling your inner Doc Higgins is probably the best piece of advice, and start to will things to happen in a positive direction. And I think it really does start with a positive attitude.
And so when we look back at 2020, as I mentioned, there was a lot of, challenging times, but there was 3 moments that we were really proud to be a part of. One, we helped put on the highest attended event of 2020, which I doubt anyone in the room would guess, but it was the ICC Women's Cricket World Cup in Australia. 86,000 was the highest women's sports event in the world, second highest of all time, highest in Australia. It was featured on International Women's Day, and it was an incredible culmination of something that most in Australia never thought would have ever happened. Second was being a part of helping Netball New Zealand become the first women's league to come back during COVID. It actually happened in early May, and was really kind of a sign, as the rest of the world was trying to figure out what to do. It was a really key sign that, there was a path forward. And then we had the great fortune of working with the Big Bash League, which ended up being the highest attended league in 2020, 2021. And it was a culmination of, getting fans back into the stands. And so we were able to kind of find the silver lining of 2020. And I think even on the women's sports side, there's so much to be proud and excited of as we look forward. And so we really pride ourselves on innovation, and there's a lot of ways that people can define innovation, but we like to say innovation equals there is a better way. And if we're honest with ourselves, pre-2020, there was a lot of things going on in the sports and entertainment industry where we knew there was a better way. And I loved, again, what Lindsay hit on the diversity, equity, inclusion side, just in terms of the way teams even go about their business and think about things. And so 2020 has been an incredible opportunity for everyone to do a reset and find those new things that they could and should be doing as they look to stand for something well beyond sport. And so for us, it's a tipping point. It's a watershed moment that I know is going to lead to a lot of great things for all of us that are working in sports.
And as Brian said, thinking about innovation as a better way, with that, there were a lot of Bobcats leading the way. So just wanted to give some shout outs as we go through this, and we want to make it really interactive. So obviously, I think we would need more time to include everybody in this, as so many Bobcats were doing amazing work the last year. So please give some shout outs as we go through it. But a lot of Bobcats in the news. I think we were thrilled to see whether it was everyone working on March Madness, OU again retaining that #1 top spot. And then you can see a lot of just overall promotions and kind of come ups and Bobcats in the news, which we love to see over the last year. As we know, there's so many Bobcats that impacted our work and lives. And I think at the center of that, we're so grateful for Doc Higgins. And Bobcats at Forefront, we're really, excited. Tim Hurst now is in the PMSA program. You'll see a new face to Forefront on the right, but a very familiar face. So excited to share that Katarina is officially on the team and going to be working with us moving forward. So we're thrilled to share that at Symposium. So couldn't be more proud or excited to continue to grow the Bobcat pipeline. But really, what we're most grateful for is what we like to say, when you work with Bobcats, it's more like getting together with friends and calling it work. So Brian, I don't know if you realized I snuck this photo in of me icing you at the holiday party. But we like to have fun. And I think it's important, again, during COVID to remember that, we work in the live sports and entertainment business. And again, really lucky, Bobcats working with Bobcats. So just to name a few, again, could have put many on the screen, but so lucky over the years to collaborate and work alongside amazing Bobcats. And Christina, you're always so on it. I loved your LinkedIn post, just the great shout outs of kind of the great recap of all the amazing Bobcats teaching Bobcats and how y'all are paying it forward to the next generation. And I think with that, so proud to kind of be in this presentation before Jackie is officially celebrated. So we'll kind of come back to that towards the end, but so many Bobcats leaving legacies that we're really proud for. So I think, for the next sort of second half of what we wanted to share with everyone in that sort of spirit of being grateful and thankful, wish we were all together, but really thankful that we could be together virtually. So in honor of, the 16 bars in Athens, we wanted to do a quick Court Street shuffle with you all, sort of our Sports Biz Innovation Edition, and really think about kind of our top 16, trends, key learnings, themes from the last year plus, and kind of how Bobcats led the way or tied into all of these. And so what I would say, we want to make this interactive. We've named, one or two people, we'll give some shout outs, but again, we know so many people working across all of these spaces. So we would love, if you're working on, gaming or esports, like give us a shout when we're on that section and just let us know what you're working on, because I think, coming out of this, we'll all want to continue to learn from each other and know who to reach out to for all of these, topics. So thanks in advance, and let's get that chat going. We're really looking forward to it. So I'll kick it off. Number one, we're really thankful for positive inspirational leadership. So I loved the video celebrating Doc Higgins. I think there was a whole section dedicated to this quote, and I had put this together before, but make a decision and then work to make it the right decision. And I think, thinking back on the countless conversations I've had with friends and Bobcats throughout the last year plus, this is a direct quote that I've used. So Doc, thank you so much for this.
Number two, we're thankful for time with family. It's been incredible to have a lot more time to spend with the kiddos and see them grow up and really get to interact. And so there's been a lot of blessings in that.
Yeah, early on, and I echo on that one, Katie, just real fast on the family. I've really embraced the fact that I have a almost 7 and 5-year-old. To pull your kids into some homework assignments from work. I'll post on the chat, but early on in COVID, we had an NBA team that we were trying to figure out how to get hand washing messages across, and my little guy there, William, that's on the boat with us, said, "Dad, like, you're supposed to wash your hands for 30 seconds. What about if you made it like a 24-second shot clock with basketball?" So we had some teams in the NBA that did messages like that. And I think that's just, where does that inspiration come from? And really at home, that was a fun adjustment for me during COVID.
And then women's sports. I mean, huge shout out to Becca Hemby, Jessie Giordano, and then Kelly Johnson, the number 2. You got a second shout out on this one from Lindsay as well. But with the nationwide NWSL deal, we're thrilled. Like, women's sports, we know should be, stronger now more than ever. And I think that was one sort of highlight coming out of the last year, is just the focus, attention, and respect that women's sports is getting, and some of the Bobcats leading the way there.
Under cause and community, it's been amazing to see, everyone really increase the efforts of what they're doing. Jessica Smith and the Angel City team is really going to set the precedent for that. And then Dad Kiranovic and others at St. Jude's, just seeing what they continue to do in the space to, again, help teams really leverage their platforms to do so much more good in the community.
And again, please share what you're doing, with your organization in terms of cause and community. We want to learn more and share with everyone. So please throw it in the chat. Diversity, equity, inclusion. Again, huge shout out to Lindsay, our girl Laura Waters Brown, also joining the collective over at Wasserman. Pat Stack, thank you for everything that you've done with Sports Biz Camps. If anyone's not involved or wants to get involved, I think we all know how to reach Pat Stack and would love to get more involved. So continuously learning, Forefront, we've done a lot of work in this space, but we are really trying to learn as much as we can. And so really just looking at some great leaders from our own program who are paving the way for us.
Number 6, everyone loves a good revenue generation example, thanks to Jim Kaler and, the road he's paved. So we had the great fortune of helping to launch the Cinemojis with the Minnesota Twins and Miami Marlins, probably something that would have never happened pre-COVID. But it's really exciting to see things happening with NFTs, with the NFL, cryptocurrency. There's so many things that are coming out of this time that would have never happened. And we're just getting into, what's next in the sports industry.
And 7, Dan, I don't think you saw this, but I had to add a attitude of gratitude. So maybe if you want to talk about this one.
Yeah, this was something, I was so inspired by our team, and also probably like a lot of OU alums, I had a lot of conversations with some amazing people that were out of work through no fault of their own. And I think one of the things that we do embrace an attitude of gratitude, but also connecting desire to action. And I would say whether you're a senior leader or just starting out, if you have an idea, act on it. And we came up with this idea right before Thanksgiving to have a day of gratitude, or post it on LinkedIn, just for anybody that's out of work, needs a positive pep talk, help with a connection. And I myself, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, I think I did 40 Zooms with people as far away from England and in Australia, and a lot of Bobcats, people just maybe looking for that next opportunity. And SBJ actually allowed us to write a piece on it. And it just reminded me, I think, not just the power of community, but also for those that are in need of help, it's okay to ask for help. And those that are in a position, like Doc has kind of taught us, look for an opportunity to give back. And I felt like I got as much out of that experience as anyone, and proud to say helped more than 10 people get a full-time job as a result of it. And, that's an incredibly gratifying feeling. And would just encourage a lot of people to check in on people that are hurting or still kind of navigating their next challenge, and that feeling of community that is part of the Court Street tradition as fellow Bobcats.
I'll take this one. So sustainability is one we're really excited about. Jeff Webster and the team up at the Kraken in Seattle clearly made a lot of waves at Climate Pledge Arena, but we're just scratching the surface. as we look for new ways to, give back to the environment. And I think the work that Jeff and team are doing are something that all of us as Bobcats are going to be looking at. So please give them a call if this is something that you're looking to do.
And then I think this is our favorite one, but just embracing change or failure. Brian taught me this one, but Andy Dolich, everything's a disaster, or I've heard him say, attach yourself to a disaster. And so, I'll let Dan and Brian sort of chime in on this one, but think about, again, the last year and a half, coming out of it, what will be sort of the disaster that you helped navigate your team or organization out of? And I think, in the next year or two, 10 years, that's going to be something we're going to all look back at and really reflect on. And so, the next time, even, tomorrow, the next disaster at work, like run towards it and attach yourself. And I think that's, when you'll be the most successful.
And I would say on this one, for those of you that do know Andy Dolich, great alum, really positive, great personality. Probably March 13th, I called Andy, and he was the head of the Oakland A's during the Earthquake World Series. And I just tried to find people that were associated with really unique moments in time. James, I know, is a Kiwi. You posted some stuff on the chat, reached out to our friends at New Zealand Rugby after the Christchurch earthquakes, 9/11, all of that. And I think it was just a good reminder of, find those people that have been through incredibly challenging times. And the number one thread that I learned that we were able to share with our clients at the NCAA and the NBA, remember at the time, all of those executives looking back, it was the most gratifying time in their career. And I think that really changed our mindset during a downtime during COVID, that your voice mattered. There were a lot more people in the room, the openness to ideas. And I think that was really inspiring. And it all started with a phone call to a Bobcat, right? And just the lesson of there's other people that are there to help understand maybe the career path and who you can reach out to. And Andy was a great inspiration for that.
I think one of the things we're most excited about is we all saw with the NBA, what they did with the virtual courtside seats. This is just the beginning for sports teams, giving fans around the world an opportunity to be around the game experience. NASCAR iRacing is the future of that sport and how they bring it to life for next gen fans. So this is the year that forced teams to really invest in finding ways to get creative with bringing fans, the 99% of fans that'll never go to a live game, into the game environment. So it's really what, excites us most of new innovations and opportunities on match day.
And then, as mentioned, huge congrats to Dr. Heather Lawrence Benedict on, the new adventure with CrossFit. And so we've loved seeing the emergence of niche sports. I know a few of my classmates, Kiki and Aspen are working in bodybuilding and racing, and we're just loving seeing pickleball kind of at the pun intended forefront of sport right now. And so I think coming out of COVID, again, some of these niche sports are really having a moment.
Number 12, the surge of the art and science. We've been talking about data and analytics, and there's no better time than right now than to be someone that's that can understand the art and the science, that is creative, but also can back up those ideas with insights. And so this is something that the program has really invested in the past couple of years, and anyone that that is really sees themselves as insights driven and can really create that creative muscle can be a really strong leader in our industry right now. So really excited about how more organizations are going to use analytics to make decisions.
And I want to give a shout out. We actually have an intern that's a current OU student, Matthew Phillips, that I think is on the call, who just hand raised and reached out and networked with us as a chance to learn. So we're having Matthew actually virtually from Ohio as an intern work on some projects. So very supportive of those opportunities, and just, a person that's ahead of the curve on one of the trends that we're seeing too. So it's great to have a virtual Bobcat as part of our team.
Amazing. And then 13, gaming, esports, new media. I mean, I think we're all following, and by the way, any elder millennials or anyone older than that, I think kind of game on to understand this space. But we've got Annette Scott at Twitch. We've got Lindsay Eckhouse at McLaren Racing, Emily Fuller leading, AT&T esports over at Wasserman. So we helped do a deal with Orlando Health, naming rights of the Fortress, which is an esports, gaming arena, and did that partnership with Orlando Health. And so just really seeing a surge here. And I think esports has never been hotter, as well as that new media and just gaming in general.
And then the convergence of sports, music, and entertainment. So as sports look to become more global entertainment brands that are doing more with art and fashion, music, food, there's so many new collaborations that we're seeing happen across the world. So it's just the beginning. So if you've got related passion points, there's no better time to find ways to integrate them with what you're doing from a sports perspective.
And then digital and influencers. I think every single partner that we're working with at Forefront right now, we're incorporating all things digital and all things influencers. And so obviously I have to give a nice shout out to Preston McCull and then Kareem as well. I think those two guys are really leading the way. But again, let us know, like, what influencer strategies are you working on? What's been successful? Do you have any, case studies you can share with us? We'd love to see what everyone's doing in this space. But we know these are two individuals that we've reached out to collaborate with and really get inspiration from over the last year.
And last but not least is the new sponsorship categories. I wish I was at the CI right now having a beer with Sean O'Hare, learning more about how the Flex Power Tools deal got done, or with Kyle Robbins and Mark Placo in Columbus, who are doing a lot of big deals around their new stadium. But it's an exciting time if you're working in partnerships to really push the envelope and go find new partners to collaborate with.
So again, the 16 of our favorite top kind of inspirations, categories, trends. Thanks everyone for dropping things in the chat. Love to see that. And so, as we said, just really grateful for the opportunity to present to you all and share some of the things that we're really grateful for in our learning. And again, that kind of thought of all roads do lead back to Athens. And so wanted to sort of leave, I know that Jackie will be celebrated next. And so we're really lucky we get to work alongside her through our partnership with Sports ETA. And so had mentioned that we were doing this presentation, and Al Kidd, the CEO and president of Sports ETA, just said, hey, I'd love to just send a note in to celebrate Jackie. So we'll let everyone kind of read this, but just a quick abbreviation of: she's a true professional, a great student, a master of her work. She's always thoughtful. Her knowledge of her clients' work in the industry is always articulated to the intended audience in an artful, impactful, and a meaningful manner. Over my 40 years in the communications business, I've worked with nearly 100 communications professionals. Jackie's at the top. And to that, her passion for education and teaching, she always pays forward that knowledge and passion to fledgling communication professionals. So, just impacting young minds, continuing to improve the industry. And so really excited, Al sends his best, Jackie, and excited to make that connection. And then our pal Jennifer Stoll as well wanted to send a note just saying she's an all-around awesome person. She takes it upon herself to dive into the latest trends emerging in sport management, from esports to betting. She's well-versed in the status and impact of these topics. Not only that, but she's relentless in her pursuit of leveraging sport management trends for wider industry value and giving back of her time to OU and sharing her plethora of knowledge with her university students in Cincinnati. So she says, I'm proud to call Jackie a colleague and, more importantly, a friend. Congrats on this well-deserved award. And so again, just to give thanks, we really just wanted to end this. Thank you all for listening, letting us have this opportunity to celebrate everyone, and huge congrats to Jackie as well. So cheers. And I think a final toast and a send-off. So thank you all so much.
Brian, Katie, and Dan, cannot thank the three of you enough. That was fantastic. Loved the creativity with the bar crawl, and want to congratulate each of you on the success that you've all had this past year. So thank you again. Can we get another round of applause? And with that, we will move into the final portion of tonight. I'm going to welcome back Matt Cacciato to the stage to introduce our Distinguished Alumni Award recipient.
Thank you, Justin. And I really want to thank Brian and Katie, especially for those last two slides. Just as, perfect setup without really kind of choreographing it, to have, Al, Kid, and Jennifer, just kind of share their thoughts on Jackie and their experiences with her. I think it makes my job a lot easier in terms of introducing Jackie as this year's Charles R. Higgins Distinguished Alum Award recipient. I got to meet Jackie my first semester teaching here full time in 2017. As we often do as faculty, we heard that Jackie and Betsy were going to be coming to campus, and as someone that hadn't met Jackie yet, it was pretty easy to do research and see how prolific her achievements in the industry have been. And so I signed right up and had her come into our class, and it was just unbelievable, how dynamic she was with my undergrad students, how engaged they were, just kind of recounting the projects, that she's worked on. I think, the Flying Pig was just a really important and very interactive, certainly for the undergrads, exchange that day. Betsy actually spoke later on that afternoon, and she did a dynamic job as well. So, I knew from that point on that, she was just a very involved, very committed alum. Here we are, fast forward all these years later. And, when we started talking about this year's distinguished alum, Jackie just kind of came to the top. And when I really started to look at, her legacy here at OU as a double Bobcat, and a graduate, I believe, of the class of 1991 from Scripps School in Communication and Journalism, but her involvement, early on and often with the university in so many different roles was really kind of at the heart, of making it an easy decision this year to honor Jackie. Just some quick bullet points here. Jackie received the Medal of Merit from OU in 2017, and that is awarded and recognizes excellence in their chosen fields. And again, that's one of the highest honors that an alum can receive from the university as a whole. She's also an Ohio University Foundation board member. She's led Ohio University's esports program development, and really at the request and working in partnership with President Nellis. Jackie really kind of led a task force to figure out how we could get our arms around esports, as it started to grow, as some of the other MAC schools and universities around the country, started to kind of, formally acknowledge esports. And Jackie certainly was highly successful in doing that for us. We have a very large esport club, over 225 members currently, are part of OU esports. So again, Jackie was at the heart of that. And I got to tell you, one of the most amazing things, and certainly very near term, Jackie signed up and took all three courses within the SGE gambling certificate. We didn't ask her to do it. She has clients that are in the casino and the gambling space. She's interested. She's always at the cutting edge. She saw, the opportunity for her to kind of get ahead of the curve. And, the best part about it is, she really enjoyed it. And I think that was, a great relief to Jim Kaler and myself that, we passed that test. Not only that, but Jackie's working with us now to extend, our certificate program through Sports ETA and the sports commissions, 500 plus sports commissions around the United States. So we think it'll be a great way for us to, generate more revenue and greater interest and knowledge, most importantly, for the sports gambling space. So again, just some bullet points as to how she's always involved, always thinking about OU. She speaks on a regular basis, and her passion is undeniable. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce Jackie Rowe, this year's recipient of the Charles R. Higgins Distinguished Alumni Award.
Good evening, everyone, and greetings from Cincinnati. I couldn't see myself on the Zoom, so thank you for all those kind words, Matt and team from Forefront. It's a pleasure to work with you too, and that was a very nice surprise from Al and Jennifer. It's truly an honor to receive this prestigious award in the name of Doc Higgs from Ohio's first and finest university and my beloved alma mater, and just a terrific honor to represent my fellow PMSA alums and the first class of the program. I'd also like to say good evening to my classmates, the class of 2012. I know Erica's on the line and Anthony's in the room, so great to see you as well. I know we will catch up with Dr. Heather Lawrence and share our thanks and everything that she did for us in the program. Erica, Anthony, while I have you, I kindly ask that you please hold all woos until the end of my remarks. That was an inside joke for our little class. Many of you know that I am a very proud double Bobcat, as Matt mentioned. After escaping Toledo, Ohio when I was 18, found my true home and friends who are really now family in Athens. I might mention that my first official visit to OU coincided with Halloween weekend. And as they say, I was all in. To my mother's delight, I landed in the J School and graduated in 4 years. What a relief. And I know for all of us, especially those who were on campus, those 4 years flew by, but I have to really share two fond memories. 98, this is against the University of Charleston. We saw Dave Jamerson set a single game record. He hit 14 3-pointers and scored 60 points and of course an Ohio victory. And as a huge basketball fan growing up and playing my whole life, it was such an amazing feat to watch. Of course, 91, my Sigma Kappa sisters in Fiji fraternity, we won Greek week, and that was a very victorious spring for my sorority sisters and me. And of course, we're still talking about it as I bring it up here 25 years later. But in 92, I left Athens with a degree in journalism and really a whole new perspective on, well, I guess, life. After graduation, I bopped around in healthcare and arts marketing before focusing on sports PR and marketing. And when I turned 30, I had that aha moment, maybe that some of us have had before, or certainly will have, that I really wanted to focus on sports PR. I looked at the Reds job, I looked at the Bengals job, and I said, those guys are going to die in their chairs. These are great jobs. Rob is still at the Reds, and Jack recently retired from the Bengals. So I moved to plan B. On a cocktail napkin, of course, where all good ideas are hatched, my business partner, Betsy Ross, and I hatched that plan, and it was a business plan for game day. In 2002, Betsy left ESPN, and I left the Cincinnati Art Museum, and we started Game Day, our media and marketing agency. And here we are in our 20th anniversary year. And we've been so fortunate, as Katie mentioned, to work on so many great projects. But just some of the favorites that come to mind, the opening of the Cincinnati Reds Hall of Fame, of course, the first professional baseball team, the auction of assets of Hollywood Park, now the home of SoFi Stadium, a few Radio City Rockettes media tours, and the 2015 Major League Baseball All-Star Game in Cincinnati. So we've been very fortunate to have a lot of fun that we call work too. But fast forward to the PMSA program, and it really dates back to 2010. And I was at a faculty meeting at University of Cincinnati where I taught sports PR, early morning meeting, surrounded by PhDs, and another aha moment came to me. Bachelor's degree, Jackie Rowe needed to up her game and needed a master's degree to stay in the adjunct professor game. And as luck would have it, there was a story in SBJ right after my aha moment about Ohio's new online master's administration program. And I'll never forget, it was the first page, open up, bottom right corner, perfect placement of a story. And made a call to Kaler, and an application landed me in class number 1 of the PMSA program that September. And, like many of you, this program does not come without sacrifice, either financially or time spent away from family and friends. And so to that end, I'd like to thank Betsy and Game Day for paying my way through the program and giving me time to complete it. And I think, my fellow classmates sure understand that. And those 18 months that we spent together were just amazing. I mean, we were all working full-time jobs. Many had kids, many had families they were supporting, and we just learned from each other in a virtual environment. There was no Zoom. And we had amazing professors, we had amazing support who gave us their time, their patience, and their knowledge. And I can't be more thankful for that. How can I forget Dr. Ming Lee, if you'll remember him? He called me from Dubai one afternoon, and basically he was leading an institute in Dubai that Ohio University had a partnership with at the time, and gave me basically a half-an-hour tutorial on Excel and statistics. I had clearly missed the Excel train in undergrad, so that was very helpful. And I'll never forget Dr. Lawrence calling me. It was about a month into the program, and many new things on the online and using a whole new system. And I had missed an assignment, and I, in my mind, thought it was voluntary. Well, it was not. And she told me I better start bringing my A game. So that's done, and but immediately got me back on track. So thank you, Dr. Lawrence. Of course, I have another Heather story. It was a Saturday morning around 7:30 or so. She trotted Jason Bitsoff and I up to, I think Lindley or one of the office, one of the buildings. It was a sports administration advisory board meeting. And I really think she just wanted to show two warm bodies that, hey, this is proof that this online master scheme for misfits was legit. And hopefully we proved her right. I think Court Street, the bonding that we all remember, we just, we'll never forget those stories. Of course, I'll reserve those stories for another time when we're in person together. But I should share one of the ingredients to the life of late night happiness. That's Tony's Hot Nut. And I quote from their website, "It's a shot made from coffee and hazelnut liqueur, and it'll make you see the face of God." Today, I am honored to continue to serve our beloved university as a past National Alumni Board member and current Ohio University Foundation member. I can assure you the future of Ohio University is bright and exciting under the leadership of Dr. Nellis and his cabinet. From our collective interest, Ohio is leading the way in the continuing education of legalized sports gambling through its new master's certificate program, of which Matt said I'm a proud graduate and would certainly recommend the program. So give Kayla a call and sign up. I'm really impressed and very proud with the university's holistic efforts in esports, and really to use that exciting new industry to engage students, current students who are on campus, prospective students, and really to educate the next generation of leaders. And I think we can all agree that Ohio University and this program have given us an amazing network of industry friends. And thank you for the time that you're spending tonight. I think that Ohio University certainly gave us the knowledge to succeed, challenge the conventional, and ultimately innovating the industry. And as I conclude, I would be remiss as a board member of the foundation to not use this platform. I know you join me in your ongoing support of Ohio University, our fellow alumni, our current students, and faculty and staff community. But I would ask that you consider the following in the next year. Join the Bobcat Network if you haven't already, to register as a mentor for a current student or students in our program. I love what Dan said about taking time to just encourage folks and give them a contact, give them a pat on the back, just take their call. We had a tremendous giving day a few weeks ago, and I would encourage you to please continue to support Ohio University and make an annual investment. It only helps the university grow and innovate and attract those wonderful students. And lastly, wear your Bobcat spirit. I've got mine on tonight. We are Ohio's first and finest university with a long, proud tradition, and we need to help the university by serving as a marketing platform. And then to that end, I'd just like to thank Doc Higgins and Shirley for guiding this prestigious program to the incredible stature among all top college programs in the world. To my fellow alums, faculty, staff, friends of Ohio University, I wish you the best in your continued successes. Go Bobcats.
Jackie, thank you so much. And on behalf of everyone here in the room, both students and faculty, we thank you for everything that you have done for us, your continued commitment to the program. And once again, congratulations. Jackie Rowe, everyone. I'd now like to welcome back Matt Cacciato to bring us home.
Okay, thank you, Justin. Thank you, Jackie. You know, less is more as we go to the quick close here. I just want to reiterate our thanks to President Nellis for joining us, for Andy Kreutzer, saying, taking us down memory lane and really kind of reliving some of the conversations and the partnerships that got us into the College of Business. Certainly, Lindsay and all the support from Wasserman, Lindsay LeBennett and Wasserman's been great to us, part of the collective organization that was put together with Heather. We did some great projects with Wasserman this year with both our grad students and our undergrads around the Angel City project. Really a special thank you to, all of the members of our Black alumni from the class of 2016 and 2017 who reached out to Dr. Strode and myself and said, let us help you through this. Let us help you get your arms around how we as a program can really improve our DE&I efforts. I also want to thank Dr. Strode for really taking the lead and putting together a very thoughtful and strategic plan on how we can improve in the DE&I space with some metrics, and we'll be reporting on that going forward. Again, the team from Forefront cannot thank you enough. It's really an amazing story in and of itself, knowing that Brian and Dan started in the program and that they've built the business that they have and have never forgot the Bobcat spirit and the Bobcat talent as they continue to build their team. And most importantly, our students, they just had an unbelievable year, perseverance, stick-to-itiveness, resiliency, love for one another. Both the MSA and the MBA class together got through this. Incredibly proud of the pace that the class of 21 is set in terms of securing opportunities. The job market is responding, and we feel really good about the numbers that we're seeing and the amount of interviewing activity. So that gives us great comfort to know that we're starting to see the market come back on this end, and know that we have an unbelievable class coming in, the MSA class of 2022, filled with leaders. They're going to be joined by great MSA exclusives, and we'll do great things in person going forward. So just a wonderful evening, albeit a little bit different. And I think the most appropriate and the only way to end is just a standing ovation for Doc and Shirley. Thank you for all your wonderful service. We love you. That's it for tonight, everybody. Be safe. Take care of each other. Go Bobcats. And we'll see you back here in a year's time. Thank you.